Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, what does Larry Hogan's reelection as governor mean in 2019? Does anyone care that the federal government is shut down? And how did Mark Elrich's listening sessions go? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the Dean of Democratic Punditry, Sam Statland. Secretary of the Maryland Republican Central Committee, Mark Uncapher. Former Maryland Assistant Secretary for Business, Bill Askinazi, and political strategist, Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. When I look back at the topics from a year ago, it's hard to believe that 1 year ago we were actually looking at credible polls that had Maryland Governor Larry Hogan losing to a generic Maryland Democrat. Mark, given the history of the Republican Party in Maryland, Larry Hogan's reelection in 2018 has to be viewed as a significant event. But how does that turn into political strength when dealing with the General Assembly when it convenes on January 9th?
Well, I think we'll see a continuation of what we saw for the last 4 years, which is give and take on many issues, and some issues will result in compromise, and some issues will end up being vetoed and worked out through that process. I do think the important point is that there's a mandate for Hogan in that his common sense, moderate, centrist approach to governing Maryland clearly resonates with voters, and that gives him a club.
And I think also the Democrats nominated the wrong candidate.
And what does that have to do with the General Assembly, Sue?
No, because the Democrats like Democrats, and they voted. There are more Democrats in the House and more Democrats in the Senate than there were a year ago.
And you think that's going to make them more radicalized?
No, but it's going to make it even a little tougher for the governor, and they'll be. They're going to override his vetoes.
That's actually not true. There are more Republicans now in the Senate, but we did lose some in the House.
Yeah, you wanted 5 in the Senate.
That's right. We did not get it. But
yes.
But Maryland is actually one of the few states where Republicans increased in the state legislature.
But the bottom line is that there will be overrides. There's still override strength in both
But let me go to Sam on this. Sam, the political agenda this year seems to be relatively moderate. There's no major issues that are tearing the party apart. I mean, there's, shoring up Obamacare, raising the smoking age to 21, banning 3D printed guns, terminating parental rights of rapists, which was pushed last year. Where's the controversy going to be?
2 areas. The first area is going to be in reallocating the formula for school construction money, which the Maryland Montgomery County delegation is really pushing for so that we don't lose more money in construction. And the second big area is the widening of the Beltway and improvements to 270. This is going to be very, very contentious from county executive down. And I think you'll have battles over that.
Don't forget $15 an hour minimum wage is going to be brought up too.
That could be too.
But Susan, after the election, it was learned that Governor Hogan has been conducting private negotiations to keep the Washington Redskins in Maryland. And there seems to be some opposition to this effort. But why? Aren't the Redskins a valuable asset to have in Maryland?
No. We've got the Ravens. The Ravens are in the playoffs. One state this small doesn't need that many. If you've looked at the stadiums the last few years, they're getting emptier and emptier. And let D.C. or Virginia have them. I mean, let them go. The land can be used for something else. And
you sound just like Mark Elrich when he said to Amazon, let them go somewhere else.
No, I would take.
He did not say let them go someplace else.
No, he said we don't need their.
No, you know what?
Not.
He did. He said we don't need business. We don't need any stinking business in Montgomery.
Valuable NFL franchises.
Are you guys ever going to let go of this?
There are thousands of jobs that go beneath the ownership of a professional team, from merchandising to food to vendors
but
to
they
safety
practice
inspections.
elsewhere, and they come on the weekend and play their games, and they're a terrible team.
You've never been to a
Yes.
concert at FedEx Field?
You can go elsewhere for those two.
Sure. Oh, sure.
Anti-job.
Why don't we just take all the business, all the entertainment, and put it in Tyson's corner?
You know
That's what you're saying?
The Redskins have never been embraced by Maryland. And I will...
Snyder.
Have you ever gone out to
Hogs,
a stadium?
the Hogs.
Have you
I've
ever
been there.
gone out
I've
to a
been-
game?
Yes.
Susan,
Snyder.
you have no idea what you're talking
No,
about.
but the seats are getting less and less filled.
That
the
they
love
are.
affair
Because the
is
services
over.
are terrible.
Susan.
Let
and
them
everything
go
is
to
overpriced
DC
and the
or
parking is
Virginia.
terrible and access to the
All right,
stadium.
that's
all right, we
And
got to move
Snyder
on to
wants
other
to go
we
to
gotta move on to
DC.
other topics. But I want the world to know that Susan Heltemes is saying take the Redskins back to D.C.
Yep.
But Bill,
Yeah.
I want to explore something, and this has to do with something about state prerogative and business and development. The Board of Public Works voted unanimously against Columbia Gas constructing a 3.5 mile gas pipeline to connect a terminal in Pennsylvania and a terminal in West Virginia. Even though the Federal Regulatory Commission approved it, and what's more, the Maryland State Department of Environment and Natural Resources. What is going on here with Governor Hogan?
All right, well, first define some terms. Board of Public Works, 3 people, right? You got the controller,
Yeah.
you've got the governor, is
Yeah,
one of them,
yeah.
and you got the
And
treasurer.
how many of those voted against it?
Well,
how many voted
they
against it?
all voted against
all
it.
All voted against
The
it. How come?
Well, I'll tell you how come. The governor is a man of his word. Fracking is illegal in the state of Maryland.
So fracking gas is illegal? You're saying that you can't use natural gas if
No.
it's made from fracked shale?
We don't want
Now,
contaminated
whether you agree
gas
with
going
it or
through our
not, there was
pipelines.
65 delegates from the state of Maryland who signed on to this. Now, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what this shows, though. Governor Hogan's not running for president anytime soon. You don't get along with Pennsylvania and screw West Virginia, your neighbors, if you're going to be running for president.
There are existing pipelines. All we're looking for is a connection
Right.
that will go along a railway right of way.
What do
They're
we
worried
get out
about
of
leaks.
it?
They're worried about
That's
fracking.
right.
Now,
Water,
I'm not
the
saying.
water table.
Now, the
There's
governor.
already pipelines, Susan. It's not like these
We get nothing. You were talking Pennsylvania,
Casey,
West Virginia.
your question is political, though.
pipelines. There's a pipeline that goes into Rockville, Susan. There's a natural
We
gas
don't
pipeline.
need another pipeline
Oh.
connecting two
Whether you do or
states
not,
that we have
here's a
nothing to
political
do with it.
decision, and the governor knew that. Number one, by enforcing this coalition and catering to the environmentalists, he's going to get a trade-off on some other bills. That's the bottom line.
Mark.
I think let me just go on the record. This is a terrible decision on the part of the governor. I understand all the dynamics, but this is a mistake. Clearly, what the environmentalists need to focus on is that using natural gas is more efficient on using carbon than coal. You got to look at what the trade-offs are, and we should be facilitating natural gas, not creating barriers.
So while we're talking about political pay to play, let's talk about Pimlico Racetrack and whether or not it should be torn down and rebuilt using state funds.
Absolutely not. We already are subsidizing the horse racing industry to the tune of about $30 million a year with a piece of the proceeds from slots. That goes to support the racetrack upgrades and also to increase the purses. It's time. Well,
That's
I'm not.
Laurel and Pimlico.
It's Laurel and Publico, the common ownership. The money currently most of it goes to Laurel. Let the Preakness go to Laurel. I think it's crazy for Baltimore to be
It's
focused
time,
on
it's
Cook.
However-
time to let Pimlico go.
Finish it.
From an economic development point of view, that whole area will benefit for the plans that I've seen for Pimlico, because it's not just a racetrack. It's an environment. It's a go-to. It's restaurants. It's entertainment.
It is a pipe dream.
It's a place
and
where
it'll never
people-
happen and never be successful.
And that will
Inside-
make up for the Redskins moving when it goes to Laurel.
We're going to move on to our next topic. When we come back from this short break, the listening session is over. What can be expected from the new county executive? And does anyone care that the federal government is shut down? Stay tuned. We're going to tell you. Welcome back. When Mark Elrich was sworn in as Montgomery County's 7th county executive, he laid out a progressive agenda while acknowledging that he needs the support of the business community to be successful. Bill, initially, Mr. Elrich expressed support for mass transit projects like bus rapid transit, but opposition to some of Governor Hogan's transportation policies. Now that he's completed his listening session, has he changed his mind about anything?
There's no evidence that he changed his mind. And first of all, his view on, widening the Beltway or 270 is probably irrelevant, frankly, because number one, you're talking about state funding, you're talking about national, federal funding, and by the time it gets to that stage, which will be 8 years from now, he won't even be in office. If you talk about mass transit, that's a different story. Mass transit is more of a local issue. I think his views haven't changed at all, and I think, frankly, mass transit will be expanded under his watch.
But the real issue is the tone that he sets when he talks about Beltway funding and Beltway expansion and I-270 expansion. It comes off as being anti-business and frankly, against the people in his county that are dependent on roadways for their livelihood.
Sure. Well, he'll be a knee-jerk obstructionist to anything that Governor Hogan puts forth. That hasn't changed.
Mark makes a very valid point. You improve 270. You improve traffic on the Beltway.
And
where does it wind up?
Lanes.
Where does it wind up? At a bottleneck called the American Legion Bridge. And you can do all you want, but the backup is still going to continue on the Beltway and maybe even further up 270 unless that bridge is taken care of.
We got a solution to that, Sam.
Yeah.
We got to build another bridge.
Yeah. Why
That's
don't
the
we
solution.
widen
Right next to the
have?
existing one.
No, let's build another bridge where 28 crosses the Potomac River.
And
Never
Casey,
happened.
the same argument was put forth with the ICC. And it alleviated tons of traffic, that there would be bottlenecks and backup on either end. It just hasn't happened.
No.
But Mark still
But
is
the
talking
bottleneck is there
against
already on the
ICC.
American Legion Bridge, Bill. It's there.
Absolutely.
You're right,
huge.
it's there. And that's because
So
we
you
need
gotta-
an outer belt.
so-
We need an outer bridge to connect Virginia.
Why can't we widen the current bridge?
Yes.
Because it's not, you can't put that many vehicles onto the existing roadway. You take a bridge across that connects with 28 and connects to the ICC, what's being proposed, which Rich Parsons talks about every time he's on this television
Not
show.
every time.
You will have great relief in your transportation.
Listen, Mark came up with some very interesting discussions at all of these listening sessions. And one is in the existing roadway that's there for the Beltway. What you do is you put in reversible lanes, a reversible lane, so that you increase the lanes coming in and you increase the lanes going out.
Just like the Tappan Zee Bridge
And-
going across the Hudson, huh? Is that what you
And-
want?
I've never been on
It's
it.
not going to work because you still have your bottleneck.
Well, you just said it. That's the whole point that Mark makes.
You need
is
additional
bottleneck.
roadway, and the right of ways are already there, Sam. You're not having to go through
But it's
a
part of the
condemnation
ag
process.
reserve.
No, it isn't, Susan. You don't have to go through the ag reserve. There
you
are
can
plans that
circle
would
the
allow
bottom of
you
the
to
ag
build a
reserve.
Point of
roadway
Rocks. It's the Point of Rocks
going
was the designated.
Too far north.
not
cross.
going through the ag reserve, where 28 connects in Virginia and 28 connects with the ICC.
There is a
You could
plan
do
for
it.
that.
There is a plan for that. All right, so Sam, now that we're talking about perception, the county executive has a perception that he's anti-business. How is he going to change that perception?
He's been changing it every time he goes to his wonderful listening sessions and listens to what people are saying throughout the county and explains his positions and what he feels, which is to be successful, Montgomery County has to have a vibrant business community. It must grow. He just wants it to grow the right way. All he asks for from the business community is
Centralized
if you're going to
planning.
build something, contribute to the roads and provide schools.
They're already
and provide
doing that.
schools.
They're already doing that,
Not
Sam.
nearly what Virginia does. Not even close.
We got to wrap it
All
up.
he wants is
New
small
developers
business,
are
too.
not coming to Montgomery County because
promote
now
small
they're
business.
scared about the cost of doing business.
All right, well, let's go. Look, there's one major topic that we haven't talked about, and that's the shutdown. Because as the 116th Congress convenes this week, there are significant changes. The Democrats seized control of the House of Representatives. The Republicans increased its representation in the Senate. But there doesn't seem to be a solution between the political divide, which has hampered governing for the past 2 years. Susan, as we gather this evening, President Trump and the congressional Democrats still have not agreed on a plan to resolve the government shutdown because both sides are entrenched. They're not willing to give an inch. Is it possible that the government shutdown will continue indefinitely?
Well, we're on the 14th day now, and the president said today it could go on months or a year. He doesn't really care if that is the case. I think that it won't last forever, but I think that the president seems to forget that funding bills come from the House, not from down in the White House. And so he needs a little bit of education on that.
But
Bill.
specifically to your question, which was, does anybody care? I just got back from Colorado, in an area where close to all of our national parks, and had a big discussion from people who were saying, yes, we need to support the president. But when I came back with 800,000 people being out of work, and the fact that all the parks, federal parks out that way are closed down, they piped up and said, yeah, and it's costing us a lot of business
And there
too.
are
And it is.
30-some thousand
And
small
besides the
businesses all
800,000
around.
feds,
Sam, I've heard from you.
you
I wanna hear
also
from
have,
Bill.
one more point, those contractors that are never going to be reimbursed for their salaries. And people, we're talking people
Yes.
here, because of both actions, who live paycheck to paycheck,
That's right.
are suffering.
Sam,
and that ain't
Sam,
right.
I'm going to let Bill respond.
Yeah. First of all, President Trump is a political strategist. He's a businessman. This thing will be over by next week. And what he wants to do, obviously, is secure the borders. It's all about the wall. It's all about funding. So the leverage that he uses is an appropriate leverage. The fact is that the people who are not getting paid now will probably get furloughed and get all their payments back.
No,
Except for the Fed
contractors.
contractors?
Contractors get nothing. Small
Well,
businesses.
you know
And
what?
what about all of the merchants that deal with the Fed, the
Sam,
food vans,
it's very
transportation,
wonderful.
all of these
it's
funds we're not
wonderful
going to
that,
get.
that you've expressed this twice now. I want to hear from Mark on the topic.
I think it's going to take a while to resolve this because I don't think it's clear that the Democrats have offered any alternative to the wall. I mean, the bottom line is how are you going to stop people who aren't legally entitled to be in the country from coming into the
What
country?
the Democrats have
And they
said is let's keep government open, and
but
then
the solution,
we can talk.
but the
Oh, that's
solution
bait
is
and switch,
that's-
Susan. That's the
it gets-
same
Listen,
that's the same
it
shell
gets
game
tens of
that your
thousands of
party
people
that
back
your
in
par-
job.
That's the same shell game that your party does every time. This is why there wasn't a resolution when George Bush was president, when Barack Obama was president. This is the reason, because no one is willing to take a firm stand. It's all, oh, we'll do it tomorrow.
The
You
majority-
three are making the case. The three of you are talking about stuff that is meaningless. And you're forgetting who gets hurt by
That's
this.
what I just said. The
hurts by this.
Democrats
Wait a
said
second.
open the government.
And the Republicans
here's-
said close the government.
So
and the
here's,
Republicans say this.
here's the issue. Come up, if you don't like the wall, then come up with an effective way to stop people who aren't legally entitled to come to the country to get into the country. Give us an alternative to the wall if you don't like the wall.
They are talking about more judges. They're talking about more law enforcement. They're talking about enhanced barriers in some places, what's already there. You're not going to build it for that paltry sum of money. And everybody knows Lindsey
What's an
Graham's...
enhanced barrier? Is that a wall?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, it's a fence.
No, it doesn't need
It's
to
a
be
barrier.
fenced.
It's a
It could
barrier.
be slats. Who knows what
Is
there's...
it a moat filled with sharks? What's the barrier you're talking about, Susan?
Well, that's
It's all
the problem with
nonsense.
the president right now. He is
Lindsey
not
Lindsey Graham was right. It's all semantics with you guys.
No.
It is. It's all make believe. Oh, we'll call it a wall. We'll call it a barrier.
Lindsey
the fact
Graham
is, we
said
need,
the president
we need,
called it a concept, and how do you fund a concept?
we
Look,
need
the
barriers.
bottom line is that the president, with the help of the Congress, is taking the image of this country and destroying it.
With the help of your
wait
Congress.
a second. We
Yes.
have people,
We don't
guests,
need to do
coming
anything.
into
He
this
does it
country
all
from
by
all
himself.
over the world who can't go to our institutions.
You know what these
parts of
guests
the
understand,
Smithsonian,
Sam?
all
From
of our
all these
national
people
parks.
from all over the world,
Yes.
they know one thing.
Yes, what is that, Casey?
The one thing is that a country has a right to protect and enforce its own borders.
They're saying, Casey, where's our leadership? Why is
You're
the
right.
economy,
Where is your leadership?
Where's the
why
world
is Nancy
economy
Pelosi?
going down
Why,
to?
why is Chuck
Do you think-
Schumer not voting for things that they voted for under Barack Obama?
Because they're both being too political and not getting the work of the people done. Both of them. It's a shame. It's absolutely terrible.
All right,
and
so
what's
we're gonna
going
have a
on
wrap-up
now
question.
within the country, outside of the country, is not going to end when Mr. Trump leaves office. It's going to continue because Because
you
of
want
the
it to
support that
continue.
we've got.
That's why.
You just can't
All right.
build trust again.
I'm gonna start
build
with Mark.
leadership again.
Mark.
It's terrible.
How long is the shutdown going to continue?
At least another week.
Sam,
A week. Within a week.
Within a week? A solution within a week?
Within a week.
Susan?
It's gonna be resolved when Donald Trump can no longer handle not golfing and being at one of his resorts. And when he's ready to golf.
What are you talking about, Susan?
No!
So what are you talking about?
No, people inside the White House say that his not being able to golf is wearing on him. He's not been able to go to his resort. When he casts a golf again, it'll be resolved.
All
It's
right.
as good an
my
answer
God,
as
Susan,
any.
you know, I don't know where you come up with this stuff.
I'll bet you a lunch at
Yeah.
Tally Ho that this thing is over.
Tally-ho?
At Tally Ho.
Tally-ho, you are a big spender.
I love that place. I love that place.
That's in
Like the
case you
Waffle
win.
House?
You have to bring your own. You have to
That
bring your own
by
409 to
Fri-
clean the
Fri-
tables.
or four.
Friday at 5 p.m.
Where?
Friday
Next
at 5
Friday?
p.m. Yes.
All right, all of you are wrong. This is going to go on until the end of the month because there's not enough pain on either side to make a deal. When we come back from Party Shots after this short break. Now with Parting Shots, Susan Heltemes.
Martin O'Malley is not running for governor, and he has endorsed a fellow Irish guy named Beto O'Rourke for president. We'll see. The other thing is, this week Tucker Carlson was lamenting about the scourge in this country of women making more money because it leads to men drinking, going to jail, using drugs, because women won't marry men who make less money. So Tucker Carlson, I have good news for you. At the rate we're going, women are going to be paid equal to men in 200 years. So hopefully not too many men will go down the tubes.
Thank you, Susan. Sam Statland, your parting shot.
A big, big boo to the president and to Congress for not resolving these issues, and for the Republican leadership of not sitting on this guy and letting him act like, teaching him how to act like the president of the United States and stop embarrassing us all over the world.
That's it?
Enough.
That's enough?
Enough said.
Enough said. Mark Uncapher, your parting shot.
This year, we're going to be talking about an initiative of the County Council, starting with a hearing, or actually a workshop, a forum on January 19th for accessory apartments. These are apartments that are in garages and adjacent properties within single-family homes that are effectively divided up. It's worth talking about, but it's also worth keeping in mind that new building construction costs about $45,000 in development fees, so it remains to be seen whether or not this becomes a loophole to get around those requirements.
Thank you, Mark. Bill Askinazi, your parting shot.
There's a very serious stain on the great reputation of the University of Maryland, and it involves an environmental issue. Recently, tragically, there was a death of Ian Paragoul's daughter, who I knew, a beautiful young lady who died of adenoviruses in the university population. But makes it worse is there's mold in the dormitories, and it's spread from one dormitory to the other. There has got to be action now, not only for the health benefits of the students and the people who live there, but also for the institution itself to protect its integrity and the health of its citizens.
Thank you, Bill. Now, as everyone can tell from this evening's program, this is going to be a tumultuous year. I mean, political passions are heightened, but the one thing that I agree with my friend Sam on is that there should be a pox on all of the houses of government for not acting and performing up to their jobs and up to their duties. The last 2 years have been disgraceful. The idea that the president stole the election and we've had endless investigations is unbecoming. The fact that individuals cannot be confirmed because the Senate won't act. Government has to perform. The beauty of the American government is that we've accepted political outcomes and we move on. Both houses of Congress and the president need to demonstrate leadership, as Sam has been calling for. I want to thank the panel for being here tonight. I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.